Well, thank you, Ms. Grace Rivera-Oven, for being with MCM. I wanted to start by congratulating you on this new, role that you're going to have at the Board of Education. Tell us how you're feeling.
No, thank you. I appreciate the congratulations. I'm feeling great. I am a product of the schools of MCPS. My family came here as immigrants. I came as an immigrant when I was, finishing my elementary school years. And so for me, this is a full circle moment. I'm just really excited that I get to have this role. Looking forward to an amazing year, and looking forward to working with an amazing staff and the folks who care about education, which is really the foundation of the future of our children.
So you just started on this role, and you've been actively part of the board for some time. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on what would you like to accomplish in the next few months?
Well, let me tell you, I have been an advocate for many years when it comes to education and access to education and opportunities for our young people. I really would like to achieve a sense of unity among all the advocates and the unions and the folks that are part of the different committees and so on, because I believe that we all have pretty much the same goal and mission to ensure that every child that comes through our doors gets an education, no matter if they live up county or they live in Bethesda or they live in the East County or in the city of Gaithersburg where I grew up, but they have the same access and just opportunities that every child should have.
As you mentioned, you grew up in Montgomery County. You graduated from Gaithersburg High School. Yes. How was that experience for you?
Oh, being a Gaithersburgian, as I call it, is amazing. I grew up in a city that back in the day we had the 6 pillars of and it was part about respect, responsibility, empathy, and it was a very different world than today. I was one of 5 Latino students in my graduating class. And when you look at Gaithersburg High School today, it's a little bit more than half of the population are Latinos. So my experience, I had such a wonderful mentors along the way. And also I had a great foundation, a great family foundation, and a mother who believed in education, that education was something that is, non-negotiable, and that is something that nobody can take away from you, and that every opportunity counts. So I really had a wonderful youth during my years at the city.
Did you face some challenges?
Oh, absolutely. Challenges galore. Right? Here's the thing about challenges. I would not change anything of those challenges because to me, it makes you the person that you are. And you can experience, sometimes those challenges are not so positive. Did I experience discrimination? Absolutely. Did I become the token Latina in committees or different groups? Absolutely. But you learn from each and every one of those. But also, I guess the challenges of being a Latina in areas where, there were not a lot of Latinos, right? I was a member of a lot of committees and commissions. I was usually the only Latina. I did work with a lot with voter registration. I believe that that's very important for all communities, civic organizations and so on. I was usually the only Latina, and but with that, I think you also get to grow as a person, and you are more aware that you are a role model for the next generation. So for me, it was about mentoring other young people. Sometimes they were not Latinos, but other young people who wanted to get involved. And I think that is what I took away from that experience. But challenges, we're all going to have challenges in life. I think when you are a leader, especially a woman and a Latina, you are under a microscope. I think there's a lot higher expectations, right? The level is kind of like, can they do it? They were an immigrant, they have an accent, all those things come into play. And overcoming that is really important.
How will you compare your challenges to today's challenges for students at MCPS?
I didn't go through a pandemic. I think a pandemic, even though it's been 5 years, that experience, I think, had a huge impact on our children and youth and our young adults. I can tell you, just from my own experience, my son, this was in 2020, he was a senior. So we were looking forward to all those rites of passages, right? The prom and graduation, and him and his classmates did not get any of that. Our kids who started kindergarten started online. They didn't get any of the socialization that comes with that. And we're seeing it, right, manifest in the classroom even today as they are fifth graders, So it's been a hard road, to say the least.
How would you describe your role at the Board of Education? What will be your tasks, and how can you explain to people that may not know what the Board of Education do?
It's interesting that you ask that question, because every time I go to a school and I get to speak to our young people, whether our little people, our middle schoolers or our high schoolers, and even some of the support staff and parents, I always try to, I ask them, like, do you guys know what the Board of Education is? Do you guys know what we do? And almost 100% of the time, they're like, no. Do you handle the money? There's a lot of different perspectives. I think that, educating our community about our role, what we do. Many people don't know that we are part-time, right? Now, in paper, we're part-time, but in reality, this is a very, very full-time job. Many people think, oh, you must get paid a lot of money to be on the Board of Education. No, we get a stipend, right? We get a $25,000 stipend for the whole year. And then just teaching our young people, I'm like, do you guys know how many students we have in MCPS? And they will say, 10,000, or I'm going, no, 154,992. And their little eyes go, really? And then my favorite sometimes is, for last year, I said, do you know how much did we paid for our electric bill last year? And kids don't even come close to how much that is, right? I said, 54 million. And even the adults in the building go, really? Yes, we have 211 schools. We're about to open 2 new high schools next year. So that's going to be 213 schools. And we are the largest system in the state of Maryland, and we're one of the largest in the country. So it is a big responsibility, and it is a big system, and it's the most diverse student body in the country. And that is truly a gift. But with that, we also need to be sure that we have welcoming schools and that we have what we need, not just educationally, but also the emotional support that our students and our staff need.
Some of the challenges that we notice when we are parents or we're caregivers is bullying at school. And at MCM, we have interviewed a couple of parents who are not very happy with the way MCPS process bullying complaints on how to handle these situations. Is this part of your agenda in the next year? How do you plan to
Well, I have to tell you, I was one of the folks who pushed for a code of conduct to go back to what it was. As a recipient of bullying when I was growing up, because I just want to make sure, I don't want people to think it was all rosy and grand, and, I was bullied. I was bullied because of the way I looked. I was bullied because of the way I dressed. We didn't have a lot of money, so I went to secondhand stores to buy my clothes. So it was not the most, brand clothes that you had. I was bullied because of my accent. And I think, though, growing up in a city that I had a lot of those character count requisites, the way at least it was handled back when I remember I was severely bullied and physically attacked in between classes. And my principal back then, Dr. Massey, brought not only the person who bullied me, but brought the parents, and they were, and there was a conversation. And I just told this person my story, why we were here and how much I missed where I came from. And I had to tell you, we actually became friends. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with other folks, but I think some of the changes that we're making, the restorative justice and changing the code of conduct, but also going back to the basics. And also, it is also what you bring from home. It is what you are taught at home that you bring into the school. So there's also not just a responsibility of the school system, but it's also a responsibility of the parents to teach tolerance, empathy, and to put ourselves in other folks' shoes. That is also so incredibly vital to the environment that our children are growing up in. So I hope that, this could be something that, is not a one-way street. This takes both the community investment and also MCPS investment.
So will you plan to work on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm telling you, this is one of the things that keeps me up at night, is the fact that we are in a crossways in the times that we live in. And again, we are such a diverse community that we need to find better ways to understand each other and to communicate our frustrations without hurting other people, either emotionally or physically.
Among other challenges that MCPS has is, the budget for infrastructure. Some schools have complained about mold and issues in the county. Managing this big budget that you have, are those, is this something that you have as a priority?
I think not just myself, but all my colleagues. Some of these priorities that you're bringing up, I think these are priorities that we all share. The whole infrastructure has come to this point because unfortunately there were not safeguards in the prior years. It's kind of like, okay, we got this money, let's fix the HVAC, but we have a more pressing issue. You know what? We'll do it next year. Let's do this. We still have another couple of years with that HVAC unit. An HVAC unit replacement, I'll give you an example, Magruder High School. Just to replace the HVAC at Magruder High School, which is one of our smaller high schools, it'd be about $32 to $34 million, right? Now, we have 211 schools. Some of the schools were are very old, like Damascus High School, right? That's our oldest high school. I went to Gaithersburg High School. Back then, when I went to Gaithersburg High School, it was an old school, right? So there is a lot of infrastructure needs, but we need to ensure that we're also doing it in a way that is equitable, and that we need the funding. Without the funding, we just have monopoly play money. We need to have actually the funds in order for us to do the work, and that depends on our colleagues at the council and our county executive.
Based on our conversation, what would you like to accomplish in the next year?
Listen, I would like us to accomplish a sense of Montgomery County Public Schools. First thing I'd like to accomplish, that every child that walks through our schools feels welcome, that they belong, and feel loved, and that they get an education that no matter where they walk in is the same. I think that's really vital. That our teachers feel supported, that they have what they need. And when I mean they need, I mean like materials, that they have the books, that they have the training, that they have the emotional support. We talk about mental health for our kids, and sometimes we don't talk about the mental health and support for the adults in that building, whether it's our teachers or bus drivers, folks who work in the cafeteria. In order for us to work holistically, we are responsible for and 54,900 plus lives that come through our school system. We need to ensure that we have what we need to be able for them to succeed and go on. We are known as one of the best systems in the country. When you look at some of our MCPS graduates and what they are doing and achieving, it's amazing. And it's because they got that foundation of education in Montgomery County Public Schools. And that's what we want for every child. Whether they are children who are EML, we used to call them ESOL, that's what I was. Whether they're in special education, whether they have severe disabilities, right? We need to ensure that they all have the same kind of treatment in a way, but just the access to be able to succeed when they actually are done with us in 12th grade. I would love for us to be able to achieve the foundation for that and to ensure that our kids actually feel that they can come to school and be happy and learn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.